What truly makes communication successful? At first glance, one might assume it's about articulating thoughts clearly and conveying information effectively. However, according to Charles Duhigg's insightful book, Supercommunicators, the real challenge in communication isn't merely about talking, it's about making genuine connections. In today's fast-paced world, where messages are often lost in translation, understanding the deeper layers of communication has never been more crucial. George Bernard Shaw aptly stated, "The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place." This quote underscores a common issue. We often believe we've communicated effectively, only to discover later that our message wasn't received as intended. This disconnect arises because effective communication transcends words. It encompasses nonverbal cues, emotional undertones, and the complex dynamics of human interactions. The hidden layers of communication. Have you ever left a conversation thinking everything was clear, only to find out later that the other person misunderstood you? This scenario is more common than we might like to admit. The reason lies in the multifaceted nature of communication. It's not just about the words we speak, but also about understanding the full spectrum of what the other person is trying to express. For instance, imagine you're in a meeting where a colleague agrees with a plan verbally, saying, "That sounds good to me," but their body language tells a different story. They have their arms crossed, they're frowning, and their tone lacks enthusiasm. This mismatch between words and nonverbal cues indicates a disconnect. Recognizing and addressing such discrepancies is vital because miscommunication can lead to failed projects, strained relationships, and missed opportunities. Duhigg emphasizes that becoming a supercommunicator involves tuning into these signals that go beyond the surface. It's about being attentive to how something is said, not just what is said. By doing so, we can bridge gaps in understanding and forge stronger connections with others. Understanding the three types of conversations. One of the most powerful concepts from Supercommunicators is the idea that every meaningful conversation shifts between three types. Decision-making conversations. These conversations focus on facts, data, and making choices. The central question here is, what's this really about? In such discussions, the goal is to solve a problem or reach a decision based on logical reasoning and available information. However, even in these seemingly rational conversations, emotions are always at play. For example, if a team member resists a new plan during a strategy meeting, it might not be due to the plan's merits. Instead, they could be feeling overwhelmed by their workload or anxious about the changes. By recognizing and addressing these underlying emotions, for instance by asking, "How are you feeling about these deadlines?" we can uncover the real issues and work towards a solution. Emotional conversations. Emotional conversations revolve around the question, how do we feel? These discussions delve into personal feelings and experiences, often revealing vulnerabilities. Emotions guide what we say and how we interpret others, sometimes in ways we're not consciously aware of. For instance, a friend might tell you they're fine, but their tone and body language suggest otherwise. To foster a deeper connection, you might ask, "What's been the most challenging part of your day?" This type of deep question encourages them to share their true feelings, creating a space for empathy and support. As Duhigg notes, deep questions create intimacy by asking people to describe their beliefs, values, feelings, and experiences in ways that can reveal something vulnerable. Social conversations. These conversations are about identity and social dynamics, asking, who are we? They involve issues of respect, belonging, and power structures. Social conversations often occur in situations like job interviews, networking events, or team-building activities. In these settings, we're not just exchanging information, we're navigating our roles within a group and establishing how we relate to one another. For example, during a job interview, both the interviewer and the candidate are assessing each other's social cues to determine fit and compatibility. Understanding the nuances of social conversations allows us to be more aware of the implicit messages we're sending and receiving. As Duhigg states, social identities influence our thoughts and behaviors in profound ways. Becoming a supercommunicator through learning conversations. The magic happens when we realize that every meaningful conversation is a blend of these three types, constantly shifting from one to another. Duhigg refers to this as a learning conversation. In a learning conversation, the goal isn't just to exchange information or express emotions, It's to deeply understand the person you're communicating with and to help them understand you in return. To engage in learning conversations, we need to be aware. Recognize the type of conversation you're in and be flexible enough to navigate between different layers. Match appropriately. Align your communication style with the conversation type without merely mimicking the other person. This builds rapport and trust. Ask deep questions. Encourage meaningful dialogue by asking questions that delve into beliefs, values, and emotions. Duhigg highlights the importance of matching, stating matching is not mimicry, but recognizing what kind of conversation is occurring and matching each other is key. By attuning ourselves to the conversation's context, we can respond more effectively and foster genuine connections. The power of deep questions. Deep questions are transformative tools in communication. They go beyond surface-level inquiries and invite others to share more meaningful aspects of themselves. Here's how to craft and use deep questions effectively. First, explore values and beliefs. Instead of asking factual questions, delve into what matters to the person. For example, a surface question might be, "Where do you work?" But a deep question would be, "What do you find most fulfilling about your job?" This shift encourages the person to share their passions and motivations, leading to a richer conversation. Second, invite emotional sharing. Encourage others to express their feelings by asking about their emotional experiences. A surface question could be, "How was your day?" But a deep question would be, "What was the highlight of your day and how did it make you feel?" By focusing on emotions, you create a space for vulnerability and deeper connection. Third, create personal connections. Make your questions feel personal by sharing a bit of yourself. For instance, "I've been thinking a lot about work-life balance lately. How do you manage to find that balance in your life?" This approach shows empathy and invites reciprocity, strengthening the bond between you. Duhigg emphasizes, asking a deep question should feel like sharing. It should feel a bit like we're revealing something about ourselves when we ask. Emotional connection and reciprocity. Emotions are the undercurrents of all our conversations. To build strong connections, it's essential to acknowledge emotions. Pay attention to nonverbal cues like body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions. If you sense someone is upset or anxious, address it gently. For instance, "You seem a bit stressed. Is everything okay?" Practice reciprocity. Share your own feelings and experiences when appropriate. This mutual vulnerability fosters trust and openness. If a colleague expresses frustration, you might respond, "I understand how you feel. I've been overwhelmed by tight deadlines too." Leverage emotional contagion. Recognize that emotions can be contagious. Your positive energy or calm demeanor can influence the tone of the conversation. Duhigg notes, vulnerability sparks emotional contagion, which makes us more aligned. By being emotionally attuned and responsive, you create a supportive environment where meaningful dialogue can flourish. Practical tips for everyday conversations. Applying these principles in daily interactions can enhance your communication skills significantly. Here are some actionable strategies. First, identify the conversation type. Before engaging, assess whether the conversation is decision-making, emotional, or social. This awareness allows you to tailor your approach accordingly. For example, in a team meeting, decision-making, if tensions rise, recognize the need to address underlying emotions before proceeding. Second, loop back understanding. Paraphrase or summarize what the other person has said to confirm your understanding and show that you're actively listening. For instance, "So what I'm hearing is that you're concerned about the project's timeline, is that correct?" This technique reduces misunderstandings and validates the speaker's feelings. Third, find common ground. Highlight areas of agreement to build rapport and ease tensions. For example, "We both want this project to succeed, so let's explore the best way to make that happen together." Fourth, avoid generalizations. Use specific examples rather than broad statements that might put others on the defensive. Instead of saying, "You always dismiss my ideas," say, "In yesterday's meeting, I felt my suggestion wasn't considered. Can we discuss it further?" Fifth, mind your tone online. In digital communications, nonverbal cues are absent, so it's crucial to be extra polite and mindful. Use courteous language like please and thank you, and consider how your message might be interpreted without vocal tone or facial expressions. Duhigg advises, overemphasize politeness. Numerous studies have shown that online tensions are lessened if at least one person is consistently polite. Effective communication is a multifaceted skill that goes beyond exchanging words. It's about connecting deeply with others by understanding the types of conversations we're engaged in, asking profound questions, and building emotional connections through empathy and reciprocity. By applying these strategies from Charles Duhigg's Supercommunicators, you can transform your interactions, whether in the workplace, at home, or in social settings. Remember that the right conversation at the right moment can change everything. Embrace the opportunity to become a true supercommunicator and make every conversation count. The journey to becoming an effective communicator is ongoing. It requires self-awareness, practice, and a willingness to adapt. By focusing on genuine connection rather than merely transmitting information, you can overcome common communication pitfalls and foster more meaningful relationships in all areas of your life. If you enjoyed this summary of Supercommunicators by Charles Duhigg, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into books that can change your life. Leave a comment below about the most meaningful conversation you've ever had. I'd love to hear your stories.